Bueno, kaixo, egunon, hasi egingo dugu.
Good morning. Good morning, as I was saying. I want to welcome the cast and crew of the film MAIXABEL. Let's commence the press conference. As always, I want to remind you that the photographers, you have 5 minutes to take photos, and then subsequently it's for the press conference itself. We have with us the producers Juan Moreno and Coldo Zuazua, the actress Blanca Portillo, the actor Luis Tosar, the script writer Isa Campo, and the director of the film Itziar Boyain. Thank you very much to everyone for being here this morning. I want to ask a question and then open the floor to everyone else. This question is for the producers and for Isa and Itziar. And the question is, at what time do you decide to shoot this film, MAIXABEL, and when did you start, Itziar and Isa, start to work on the script? Well, let me start. The idea emerged through the reading the El País newspaper in Febrero in 2011 of the meetings in Anclares de la Hoja jail between these people involved. So therefore, at that time, Juan and I were working together in another film, and what drew our attention, and we thought it was quite unique that within the Basque society, ETA, without having finished its armed conflict, these meetings were being held at a civil level and humane level without any type of political instrumentalization, in total intimacy. And through those, what we had read in the newspaper in El País, we wanted to transmit this and convey it in a film. And we started to work to make a documentary, and then we realized that it would be much more effective doing it in fiction. And in 2016, we were able to establish it through the character of MAIXABEL Laza. That's how we got in touch with Itziar and Isa, who are the two who gave it shape, the script, and the wholeness that the film has itself, as you see it on the screen. As Coldo said, Juan and Coldo came along with us. Isa and I, we didn't know each other. Oh, I admired her as a scriptwriter very much, but that's how it was. We talked about the meetings through the story of MAIXABEL Laza, and with Isa, I thought it was just like Coldo had happened to me. I had read those articles, and they caused quite an impact to me, and I thought it was a golden opportunity to be able to address this issue that had been left in the past. And along with this, I felt much more sure of myself because the issue was quite complicated to address in the script, and that was how I approached doing the film. The fact is, we met in the presentation that we did in the San Sebastian Film Festival in Madrid, but when they were announcing the films with Julie, and I was with Judith, and I was Entre Dos Aguas, and we met each other, and we thought we would understand. Yes, I think the three of us met each other, and a year and a half, over a year, to meeting Isabel and all the characters that subsequently appear in the script and in the film. And we submerged ourselves in depth, which is what the film required, by the way. Hi. I would like to know, actors and screenplay, Itziar and Isa, for example, how much understanding and a lack of understanding or misunderstanding can there be in doing the work, or preparing the work? Thank you very much. And whether it was tough or easier than what perhaps you thought initially or not. Thank you. Yes, well, more than tough, I thought it was like being prepared to open up completely and focus on these people, especially in the research part of it, more than writing, and that open up completely in front of you. These people are going to show the depths of a human beings. This is one of the beautiful things of a screenplay writer, is to access that to mindsets and people that you're not. And these are beings that had lived through something exceptional. They were very generous in this aspect. They opened up completely, and we took full advantage. And it was continuously called MAIXABEL. What did you tell us about? Can you tell us about that further in depth? We spoke to quite a lot, And that transformed us, Itziar and myself, from the beginning of the project to the end. We've come out, it's turned around many things in our mind and within us emotionally, yes, several times. What you're most fearful of when you're telling a story like this is to do it with respect, because you're talking about real people. And you're also addressing a real issue, which is very painful, which has affected many, many people. And you want to do it well, you want to do it delicately. And for me, for example, when directing, there's something that's already in the script that I like very much, especially of the way Isa addressed it from the beginning, is it's very austere. There's a lot of austerity, albeit being painful. There was intuitively, we didn't want to get involved into the painful side of things. This was when we staged it, when we talked with Alberto Iglesias, to make pain epic. And that's this one of we couldn't fall into those traps. So therefore, but then we've got these two great actors, monsters of performance. They did it with a lot of truth and humanity. They portrayed their roles, and that made me felt very relaxed when shooting, because they were giving what we needed, both of them and the rest of the cast is Urco Lazabal, Maria Jesus Hoyos, Maria Cerezuela, and Tabara Canosa, who were in the front row, who are splendid, and they gave a certain truth to everything that we were telling, which is what we required. But I prefer the actors, because I don't know how they did this in their performances. I've still got to work it out. Okay, I'll start. Hi. No, I won't. No. We received a very marvelous, good material, excellently written by Itziar and Isa, and plus we had our sister Boyain, who gave us all this material, which is especially sensitive. And I think that simply we took advantage of the generosity of the people that lived through those events and inspired this film, which were the true. They were very open in telling the experiences with us, at least with us. And I think we've limited ourselves to taking that in as carefully as possible, put it in through our respective filters, each in our own way, us and the people and all the other people in the cast of the film. And I think that with extreme care and sensitivity, because the material we were touching upon was very sensitive, especially for here, for the Basque Country. And that you can see the result on the screen. And I think that if there, perhaps we've tried to be as honest as possible, but we tried to do it as nobly as possible as well. My impression is that we were all aware that we were going to touch upon very, very sensitive material, and to a certain extent we created an atmosphere. I imagine that from each one received their script at home and they went to work the next day. It's not that on other occasions we don't do this in other films, but obviously there was a clear commitment of putting to the service of this story the best that we had in us, and above all, everything that we had in our pockets. This is my baggage, this is what I've got, and this is what I convey. Someone that's been able, Itziar, for example, of directing all of those little pieces of honesty and to make something that, what for me was an ensemble piece in which everyone beats in the same rhythm. For example, there was almost a contagion that went to the crew and the cast and everyone involved, and it became a sort of, I'm going to say a word that perhaps, it's almost a ceremony in which film is the protagonist, but the story and everything underneath that story is what was very important. Almost a ceremony in which everyone was putting the best they had in them into it. So therefore, in the performance, when I saw the film, that's what I felt. You can perceive it. I think that it has to do with that, with a common commitment and someone capable of making everyone feel that emotion and in the same wavelength. Hi, congratulations, first of all, for this marvelous film. Yesterday, we were all crying. Half of us were crying in the film theater. And as regards this to this, I would like to ask the actors, how did you live through this emotional burden? How was it? How was that journey for you as actors? And the second is for Isa and for Itziar, that it may sound stupid or foolish, but at the end, when they're singing a song by Xavier Lete, where does the idea emerge? How does it emerge? Thank you. Go on, you go. No. Okay, well, I remember talking to Itziar at the beginning, the initial conversations that we had when we were quite in the middle of the pandemic. It's not that we don't continue to be in the pandemic, but we communicated over online, and I had the feeling that every time we felt very deeply sad. We felt very sad because everything we talked about and we extracted from the script, there was a deep sadness when we talked. There's a lot of pain reflected in this story. It's inevitable, and we as actors, it's inevitable that we absorb it. And as Blanca says, there were moments that were magical and very special during the shooting of the film with everyone. I think that everyone, in one way or another, is affected by the violence that's taken place over these years and all the pain that's been caused. And when we shot the meeting between Blanca and myself, Blanca had a great idea before we started to shoot, proposed to Itziar, was to take full advantage that we didn't. We'd seen it just occasionally, but not much. In a festival many years ago, we'd been introduced, but the truth is we didn't know who we were, and we'd never worked together. And he thought the situation could be interesting, that the meeting in fiction between MAIXABEL and Yvonne occurs much later in the film when everyone has evolved within the plot of the script, and that all happens in the third act. I proposed this to Itziar, she proposed it to me. We thought it was a great idea, and not so much to production nor the rest of the directing team, but the idea, the objective was marvelous. So therefore, they did everything possible for this to occur, and it occurred. And it is true that there was the emotion of the film, the meeting that we'd shot with Urko, for example, the meeting with Urko, there was a magical tension there in the air. And for me, as the protagonist of that moment with Blanca, the big day for me was that moment where we meet in the film. And the ceremony that was set up in the cast and crew with Tamara, where we shared a lot of those moments beforehand when we were shooting, because Blanca, I couldn't see Blanca, but I could see Tamara. And they created a very special atmosphere that I'd never seen in any shooting of any film. And I want to illustrate with this the feeling that prevailed throughout the time that we were shooting the film. Because once again, I think that we were touching upon very extremely sensitive material that we were dealing with. Not only, it would be indecent, not only that we didn't filter it that way in our performances. I would say that for me, there were two parts in preparing the work. One had to do with research. One starts to do prior work beyond what you know as a citizen. Well, obviously, the historical background and get into and research. You can't go into this, play this role without researching. And then you have to put your feet on the ground. I'm not from here, from the Basque Country, obviously, but I do feel that this does concern me. So therefore I came, before shooting the film, I came earlier. And I think the best way of getting to know a place is to getting to know the people who live there. I spoke to many people because I'm quite fortunate enough to have friends who got me in touch with people, and in turn those people with other people. And so therefore you start to get to know the human landscape, what has been lived through, what has been cried, what has been the pain, and all of this filters into you. And so for the intellectual side of you disappears, and the historiographic side of things, and the emotional side of things, which is the most complex, starts to filter in. And then the step of meeting MAIXABEL in person. Because I remember when I arrived, Itziar says, I'm going to call MAIXABEL so that you can get together. I said, wait, give me 3 days, please. Give me 3 days beforehand, because I needed to take that time and to do it with an amount of calmness. It was very regenerating. You've got images as people tell you, you see it through the eyes of other people's, of what other people tell you, of what happened. It's a process which is different to which you normally, or I normally do it in other films, because the emotional involvement is so important and so large, and it's just like filling up the sack on your shoulder. I remember I had a sore back. There was a lot of nerves. There was a lot of anguish performing the role. But it was like fitting into the broth a lot of ingredients to make it thicker, and then to distill and to portray exactly what has to be portrayed. This was a process which was very emotional for me, and more than professional, personal, I would say, more than professional. That's what I wanted to say. Let me briefly explain the songs. Isa and I, we were in one of the tributes that they do to Juan Mari, and we saw that people used to sing songs there. And in the script, we didn't specify what was being sung, and we had to decide on the song. And we were going over our songs, and this is a song that they did sing in the tribute. I wanted it to be in Basque at the last one, and to also have in Spanish Santa Bárbara Bendita, which was Juan Mari's song, and of the Communist Party as well, a song sung by them. So therefore we checked other songs that were too, I thought this song was, apart from beautiful, I think it was perhaps less listened to, and it was going to have much more power behind it than other songs that we've heard very much. And it's a beautiful song, by the way. And it was a choice situation. But reviewing my notes, I had a piece of paper that were given in a tribute that was there. That was a song I didn't remember having listened to it, but it was one of the songs that they sing in the tribute. And the real friends of Juan Mari and MAIXABEL, 15 from his group of friends, came to a rehearsal. They sing very well, and they are the ones that start up the song. And it's what the actors were saying. Quite often in the shooting of the film, there was a mixture. Everything was very coupled. MAIXABEL came to see it. She appears in the film. Their friends sing. They feel moved. The friends are remembering that tribute and where Yvonne was there. So there's a feeling of, wow, you're doing things that MAIXABEL allowed us to have all her photos, Juan Mari's paintings for the decoration of the set. And these are things that were there. And this, the truth be said, was very beautiful. Hi. Above all, congratulations for that great piece of work that you've all done together. At the end of the film, the whole film theatre applauded for a long time, and even I would dare to think that it may be the winner of the film festival. But not only because of the issue that you're addressing with such sensitivity, but because doing it here in San Sebastian, it's a symbol as well. But nevertheless, the question is for Ithia. During the shooting of the film, did you notice were there any qualms, or does there really exist that liberation, that reconciliation that is proclaimed in the film? Does that exist? I can't really say this. You have to decide, the people who live here. I've been here for 5 months, and that's not sufficient time to know how things are. What I have felt is there's much more freedom to talk, and people do talk. And during the casting, I remember, the actors will remember this who were here, is that I like the actors not only to do a scene, but to listen to them and how they are without a text. And we asked several questions in the casting. Or did they know who the character of MAIXABEL is, and the figure of MAIXABEL, and what relationship they have with the armed conflict? It was an open question. They could tell me to go away and what's it to you, or whether I know it or not. And it was very beautiful because a lot of people talked a lot. They talked. Many years when I came here, people didn't even talk about this, and they talked about this. It was a lot of euphemistic, more indirectly. And I can say, and I felt it also in the cast and crew, there were people that had different sensitivities, and there was a lot of respect of listening to different opinions. But I believe that what the film tells is not representative in the sense that there are very few men that go to Nanclares and women, very few to go to the jail, that take the Nanclares path to recognize the damage caused and reject violence. And there are even less the people that go to these meetings. There's only 11 meetings. But I think that these meetings, I think that they're so great that I thought it was worthwhile to tell it in a story because of what they contain. They contain of hope of the hope of reconciliation, but they're not representative. These are the meetings that were very special that took place at that time. I've got two questions. It's for Luis and Blanca Portillo. I told you, Ethier, the sort good luck, obviously. And with Blanca, the truth is it's the first time that you work with Ethier Boyain, if I'm not mistaken. We know you from TV and theater. This experience that you had with Iar, how was it? It wasn't all perfect. It's not white. There are things that are in the dark. There's a dark side of it. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say everything that I haven't said because the film isn't that easy to shoot, obviously. And to Luis, for the same question to you. That's the fifth question he's asked. A lot of magic and many things, but you play the role of an ETA terrorist, and that's not easy. You've worked with Ethier 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, of the roles that you've had with Ethier, this is one of the most intense or not? Or that's it. Thank you. Well, let me start, okay? You want me to answer your question and you answer mine? No, the truth, it's the first time that I work with Ethier, beyond whether I like to work and I was interested in her as a director. I've got my private list of things that I want to do that I always think that I might one day, that'll happen. And it did happen. But she didn't call me for doing the film, no. She did some auditions, not with Luis Tosar, but with me she did. I had to do my work to get into this project. And this is just after they allow us to walk out in the street after the pandemic, after lockdown. And she gave me a month. I had to wait for a month and a bit before she said yes. Okay, that's something. She called me 2 days before my birthday. It was a great birthday present. But I remember saying in the audition, it doesn't matter if you don't give me the role. I said, well, there are 5 candidates who are the creme of the cream of the cream, the top of the top of our generation. I said, oh my God, who am I against? Who am I up against? Or who am I competing with? I prepared the audition. You can't imagine how much work I did for the audition, as if I was playing the role itself. And I did the audition. She was away. She was in Spain. I saw her on the screen, and she saw me through a screen online. And I remember telling her, even if you don't take me, which is quite probable, no problem. I don't know what happens. Films with me, films and me, I don't know what's the problem there. Someone will tell me that in the future. But let me go to the shoot, because I want to meet that woman. And I want to see how you tell this story. And she looked at me from the other side of the screen. She said, okay, cool, sure thing. You don't remember that, do you? Oh, yes, you do. I said, okay, yeah. I said, obviously, that's not going to happen. And it seems that more or less it was quite clear. When she said that, she already had the role. So therefore, it was a process to make it that far, which was quite costly. And then it is true at the same time. And it's not to paint everything as if it was beautiful, no matter what. If there had been any problem, I would say so. But I think the most important thing with a director is to understand the director, and the director understands you as an actor. And there's got to be we've got to communicate, albeit our points of view are different, but we've got to come to an agreement. It's true that Ethier is an actor, and that influences you very much, not because she's here. She has an enormous respect for actors. and she listens. She's a woman who asks you in an audition, what do you think about this? She doesn't say, do this. She asks your opinion. You give her something and she sees it, and she likes it, she'll take it. She establishes a dialogue with the actor at a very creative level. She makes you feel that you form part of the creation of the character, that you're not just a puppet at the hands of a person who's decided what the character should be like. There's a dialogue, you construct the actor with them. She's very smart, I'm not stupid, but so therefore the dialogue was quite good. And another thing is very important to work with her, especially in very delicate characters such as this. She gives you her trust. She helps you. She calms you down. Even if you make a mistake, she doesn't get angry at you. And if you're losing track, she takes you softly towards the track that you want you to take you, but with an enormous amount of respect. I always say she doesn't put before she says take, this is a message that I want to launch as an actress for the directors of the world. When you see, she doesn't put the clapperboard in front of the actors. When we see Yvonne, and we will 27-4 first in those scenes that were so emotional. Imagine doing that with a clapperboard. She does something which is absolutely marvelous. She says, everything's in order, everything's ready. She says, whenever you want. And then she uses the clapperboard at the end of the scene. This is a respect that I've never seen anywhere in any other film. So therefore, it's easy to work with her, in short. And I'm interested in the person apart from the creator. I've discovered her along this journey. Well, anything else to say? Well, not much left. Yes, and it's my first film. Yes, I did for Matajaris, and you didn't take me for Matajaris. There you go, you didn't. I'm a really bad director. I don't choose. She's an ogre. I must say, the first people that want to see the auditions are the producers. They think it's the directors, but the producers always want to see the auditions. It's not myself. Was it you, Coldo? Oh. Or Juan? There's a lot of myth in these auditions that it's only the director. No, you've got to do auditions. I like doing auditions. I love this character because she gave it to me, not because she didn't choose out of the blue. I'm going to call my really good friend Blanca. I'm very happy of having portrayed this character. And I think it's tougher to assume when you get a no or no one chooses you, but I think it's very healthy for the actor and the director or female actress. In the auditions this happens, but at least you start from another place when you feel very calm. When during the audition you get chosen. And my answer to the question, the character, yes, perhaps it's the most complex character that I've had to portray, the most complex I've ever, not only with Ithia, but in general. Antonio before ante mis ojos, which was very sensitive material, but this perhaps it's in a completely different league from the outset. We talked about this throughout the press conference. We're dealing with extremely sensitive material, and as an actor, one tries to address it and approach it, better said, or tackle it with all, and you have to dive in the deep end, and you've got to be very fine-tuned when your performance. And I don't want to lose merit, but we've had a lot of help, and not only by the real protagonists that have inspired the story, but also of all of the colleagues with whom we've worked. And there are things in the film that beyond what Blanca and I can do, which are characters that have a lot of support, because dramatically speaking, they do have, and marvelously well-written sequences and scenes. This is perfect for an actor, and it helps you dramatically to direct your character. There are moments in the film that are very, very difficult to portray. The scenes, the ensemble scenes, for example, when the mediator that Tamara Canosa portrays and explains, talks to the prisoners what are these meetings. It's a very long sequence. I don't know how many pages, but it's very, very long. In these types of sequences, a lot of directors get lost. It's not easy to do this, it's very complicated. I think Iciar there manages it like a master. The truth is, makes it seem real that that could occur, and it's very difficult to do so. It's very tough to shoot, and these are the things that I most like in this film. That in Mis Ojos, there were moments of these as well in the other film, but there are things in the film that are incredible. The work of Urco and Mar, and the moment that Maria Cerzuela receives the news of the death of her father. How the hell do you portray that? It's crazy. I don't know. We could listen to them all morning long, but we've got only time for one last question. Congratulations to the crew, cast and crew, the directing, the performances, and how you've constructed your characters within all of those different layers, and rescuing, shall we say, this second opportunity and reconciliation, albeit it's a question which is almost a social psychology or legal. Do you believe that state law enables to give a second opportunity to so many people that are in jail, 40% that have mental problems in jail with different disturbances that they have, 30% of the Basque Country with psychosis and serious disease, 20 or 25% of people with drug addiction problems, and many, many people in jail who are poor. It can be seen inside as outside. Do you think that there is sufficient means and a desire of wanting to working together in the direction of rehabilitating these people with different case scenarios, when we're using millions of euros to build big macro jails that are empty on the other hand, and the civil servants, most of them don't have sufficient training psychologically or philosophically or personally speaking. There's no education, there's no training, and so on. I know that I'm leaving the subject matter, but do you believe there's a second opportunity for all of these people that we've got in jail with what's being spent? Because the society would make it, as well as the characters. We've got time problems. Please ask the question. You think there's a second opportunity for these people, or whether we could improve? Because I imagine you've gone in depth upon, like Blanca says, upon the legal penitentiary system, permits, mediation, and so on. We've gone further in depth in what the film tells, the story tells. The interesting thing about what the film addresses is that complement to justice, classic justice. The truth is, justice as regards to the victims, it's not that it heals one part, but because they have to fulfill their sentence, but what they do is to heal from a completely different situation. I think this is very important, because justice normally doesn't heal, it contributes something else. I know that restoration processes, not with these types of offenses, but many other offenses, sexual abuse of different types, and it's working quite well, it seems. So I think that's very valuable, yes. One of the mediators who participated in these I'm sorry, we can't hear in any case. We have to finish the press conference here. Let's close it here. Thank you very much for the cast and crew for being here. Thank you.